Shinskip Baseball Rebellion here. I want to do a breakdown of Carter Capps for you. In 2015, he had a great year with the Miami Marlins with a 1.16 ERA, but couldn't finish out the year due to elbow pain. And this year had Tommy John surgery. Actually, it happened last week, April 3rd. So he'll be out remainder of 2016 season. Hopefully he comes back. But what I want to talk about is why this happened and his mechanics, and he's a guy that was kind of controversial when he's made his debut. With the way he jumps off the mound. So he's like one of two, I think, guys that do this. And you'll see in my breakdown here is that it's really odd. I've never seen it before, but it gives the pitcher surely an advantage because of how far he gets towards the plate. You'll see, Carter Capps is a tall, big, strong guy, and you'll see where he releases the ball here in a minute, where hitters and teams were saying that it was an illegal pitch. He actually got called for it as a balk in the minor leagues, but the MLB reviewed it and deemed it legal. So we'll just get right into it. And Carter, he does a really good job actually of getting his lower half momentum going here. He was a guy in the minor leagues that didn't do this. I watched a video of him, and he had pretty good lower body mechanics, but he did the same thing with his upper body. So he basically got to the same positions of what he's going to get to here, but he didn't have this jump. Okay, so at this position, you're going to see him kind of leap off the mound, jump off the mound, okay? And I'll fix it for you just so you can see it a little bit better. And it's weird. He kind of glides and then crow hops, and then he sticks his cleat into the ground. And at this time, this is when he starts to turn his knee and foot. Okay, so he's a guy also that if you watch. He was a catcher in high school and got reverted to pitcher once he got to college at Mount Olive. And when I was pitching, I used to watch the position players play catch out there and joke around and pretend they were pitching. And a lot of the catchers did exactly what he does with this ball. So I'm going to go to the other view, and you'll see as he starts to go with his lower half, he kind of hides the ball behind his butt. And as he jumps off, it kind of stays there. So all he can do from that position is hike his elbow up, okay? And I used to watch guys do this, and I didn't think anything of it. But now that I have been here with Baseball Rebellion and have been studying pitching mechanics, I know that this elbow hike, and we call the hook and hike here, is not optimal for any kind of throwing, especially a guy throwing 98, 99, 100 miles an hour. Okay, so what this does is as he's going to turn his hips, okay, and he's a guy that at foot strike, he really doesn't move his upper body at all, especially the right side of his body. So if you're thinking about from here over, okay, he doesn't really move it. So what that just tells me is that he's using just specifically his throwing arm to generate all of this, well, not really, but most of taking most of the brunt of this his lower half. So like I said, he's a big guy here, but when he starts to turn his knee, okay, so when you start to turn your knee and hip, all right, so the way you get the optimal velocity, all right, is this back hip and shoulder separation, okay. So when he lands at foot strike, okay, the ball in his front and his back shoulder, all right, are not very far apart. Why? Because he's really over his belt with his posture, okay. So if I drew a line here with his chest over over his belt, that's is pretty far over his belt, okay. And other thing he does is when he's hiking this arm, he really retracts it also. So we have retraction of his elbow and shoulder and elbow hike, or elbow hike, where his elbow gets up over his shoulder, okay? And that just puts you in a bad position at foot strike, to where he doesn't get his arm all the way up. And I talked about in my last breakdown of 90 degrees behind his head. He really can't do that because of his posture, okay? So if you're thinking about where you should be at foot strike, his hips should be turned like this, but even more actually, and his posture should be back. You shouldn't be able to really see that plate. So if you're thinking about where his head should be about right here. So you shouldn't really be able to see that plate. So it should almost look like, let me draw a line here. So his posture should be back here with his arm 90 degrees behind his head, okay? So one thing he does is not use his front glove, but also when he's coming through is gets his foot to really move and get up into the air, which puts a lot of stress on his UCL. And he's throwing 99, 98 miles an hour from this position, and it's crazy to me to think that he was taught how to jump off this mound like this, or taught himself, because it's just not the optimal way of pitching. But that's once again due to the generation and what's going on in baseball and pitching today. Because if you ask him, or you ask any closer especially, what their role is, or what they deem to do when they go out every time they pitch, is to throw hard, get guys out as quick as possible. All right, so they're not thinking about really their mechanics. They're just trying to throw the ball hard, and that's one thing that Carter Capps does. And one of the reasons why he's on the shelf now. He's got Tommy John surgery just because they don't research their mechanics. I sure as heck didn't do that. But one thing going forward is guys that get Tommy John surgery should just reevaluate their mechanics, and especially Carter as he goes forward. Okay, so moving forward, as he comes forward, sorry for using that word too many times, but his external rotation is very good, but it happens outside of his body. And also, like I said, you can see on this picture is when he starts to come forward, and now his hips will really turn, okay, and his chest has got to go forward. His arm gets 90 degrees with the ground about right here, but you'll see his foot kind of go like sideways, and that's just his foot coming off the ground, okay. And you'll see his arm get 90 degrees with the ground here, and what's bad about this is it happens outside of his body. Now, a guy throwing 99 to 100 miles an hour, if your layback starts outside of your body, that's putting a substantial amount of stress on your UCL. Okay, and it's almost inevitable for a guy um, that looks like this in a position, if he throws um, continuously like that, that he will be receiving Tommy John surgery. So if you're videotaping yourself and you say to yourself, okay, where's my layback happening? It should be happening somewhere inside of your body here. So watch out for that. If you're just videotaping yourself from behind, and moving forward. Moving forward, he doesn't optimally let his front leg stiffen up. So what that does is kind of brings his arm through, and like I said, with his front glove, you could even almost see like his glove go forward with his chest as he's throwing this ball. He does stay on the ground, but with his foot here. But like I said, there's nothing. He's not using his body correctly as he's going through the throw. And you'll see it here is that front glove kind of goes forward, which tells me he's just using all arm to throw that ball. Okay. That's being said, I would love to, reach out to Carter Caps, or him to reach out to Baseball Rebellion, and just get our outlook on what we do mechanically, along with other guys too. If you're getting hurt and you're just a guy that is in the training room thinking that you're just going to come back and do the same thing and be able to exist, especially at the highest level in the major leagues. He's a guy that has only pitched 135 innings in 5 years. I know that I never made it to the big leagues, but you always take the risk as a pitcher to to get hurt, but you never think about it. It never crosses your mind until it happens. And that's how I was, and it's taken me till now to realize how to properly pitch and throw the baseball. So check us out, baseballrebellion.com, and look at our articles, check out the breakdowns, check out our mechanics. If you enjoy them, comment on our posts. If you don't, comment on our posts. Either way, we'll get back to you with our thoughts. And moving forward, I hope Carter Caps a great rehab, or a quick rehab. But all in all, I would like to just say he needs to do something drastically and major to get back at the highest level and compete and throw as hard as he did. So this is Dave Shinsky of Baseball Rebellion. Thanks a lot.